Award-winning and prolific novelist Louise Erdrich typically writes haunting literary fiction set in the past and present, but this novel takes place in a near future, where evolution has rolled backward and every fetus is undergoing a startling evolutionary shift. At the beginning of her pregnancy, before the government started rounding up pregnant women, Cedar began a journal directed towards her unborn child. In it, she relates visiting her Ojibwe family for the first time, before she was forced to hide in her house so no one would discover a pregnancy, as well as the joys and anxieties of being pregnant. As it becomes more and more unsafe to be a pregnant woman, she chronicles the U.S.'s harrowing spiral into dystopia. Erdrich narrates the audiobook, and I loved it. Erdrich is a member of the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa. 16-year-old Jared's life is a mess, and he's desperately trying to keep everyone he loves safe. He pays the rent for his disabled dad by selling pot cookies, but his dad often uses the money for drugs instead. He takes care of his elderly neighbors, shoveling snow from their walkway and helping around the house. He worries about his mom, who's dating a drug dealer and has parties every night, where Jared inevitably drinks far too much. He's also recently lost his beloved dog. Meanwhile, Jared is also haunted by his grandmother's words that he is really the son of the trickster god, and ravens speak to him, even when he's not stoned. This first book in a crossover trilogy is both gritty and magical, funny, and heartbreaking. Robinson is a member of the Haisla and Heiltsuk First Nations. She's written several other books, including Monkey Beach, an adult novel full of ghosts and shapeshifters.
In this YA romp, Wyatt, a teen trans man hiding from the Fae in the human world, is a witch. After accidentally setting fire to much of a town in the Fae Kingdom, he escaped and has now been pseudo-adopted by an Indigenous American family, who embrace his trans identity. While living in the Fae Kingdom, the Fae Prince Amir bonded with him, and the two were engaged to be married. 4 years later, Wyatt thinks he's safe in the human world, but then Amir shows up and demands he return to the Fae Kingdom as his fiancée. Wyatt feels he has no choice but to accompany Amir, but this time he brings an ally, his best friend and sister by adoption, Briar. The audiobook read by Danny Martinek is a blast to listen to. Edgemon is seminal and this is their debut novel. The second book in this series comes out next year. In this coming-of-age werewolf novel, an unnamed narrator chronicles his life living with his werewolf aunt and uncle in a diary. The narrator's mother died during birth, and his Aunt Libby and Uncle Darren, his mother's sister and brother, are raising him. It's a hard life for a werewolf family, and they constantly have to move from town to town as trouble arises, sticking to the south. The narrator longs to be a werewolf, but so far, he has yet to transform. Funny and fascinating, this novel isn't nearly as scary as Jones's other novels, but perfect for readers who don't mind some creature horror in their fantasy. Jones is Blackfoot. In this harrowing dystopia set in a near-future Canada, everyone has stopped dreaming, everyone, that is, except Indigenous North Americans. The dreamlessness has led to madness, and now Indigenous North Americans are being hunted down and forced into residential schools so their bone marrow can be harvested and used to treat the dreamless. Indigenous teenager Frenchie is on the run with a group of other Indigenous folks. Together, they form a found family, a tribe, but they're hunted at every turn. The second book in this compulsive YA crossover series, Hunting the Stars, came out in October. Timoline is from the Georgian Bay Métis community. Black Sun, the first book in a new trilogy, is set in a fantasy world inspired by the pre-Columbian Americas. Blinded as a child by his mother, Serapio's destiny is to become the Crow God reborn and wreak vengeance on the Sun Priest and their followers, who have violently suppressed the holy city Tova's indigenous religious traditions. Narantba recently became Sun Priest, and she's unprepared for the Order's political machinations and backstabbing. Sayala, a captain charged with carrying Serapio to Tova, can calm the waters with her voice, an inheritance from her magical, ocean-dwelling Teak heritage, but her sailors fear her. This violent and epic clash between colonizers and indigenous peoples pushes against Eurocentric fantasy. It's also a thrilling and intriguing read. The second book in the series, Fevered Star, releases in April 2022. Also check out Roan Horse's post-apocalyptic urban fantasy series, which starts with Trail of Lightning. This Lapon-Apache writer stunned readers with her exquisite first novel Alaxo. Her second novel is equally excellent. Entwining multiple worlds, A Snake Falls to Earth revolves around two characters. Nina is a Lapon girl in our world. Nina's great-great-grandmother Rosita's stories have enraptured her since she was a child. Using translation software, she uncovers a mystery hidden in Rosita's stories of a time when animal people still lived on Earth. Meanwhile, in the reflected world, Holly, a cottonmouth snake person, moves in with other animal people. They can transform into humans and visit Nina's world at will. When one of his friends becomes ill due to his species becoming extinct on Earth, Holly travels to Texas to try and save his friend. There, his and Nina's stories become entangled. When a small Anishinaabe community loses electricity, most people first remain calm, but with dwindling food supplies, the calm turns to worry. Then a white man from the south arrives, describing the horrors of the crumbling civilization outside the reservation. The reserve's leadership invite the man to stay with their tribe, and, soon, more people arrive. As the man manipulates people on the reserve, the leadership slowly begins to lose their grip on the community, and a horrible truth they uncover forces them to make an even more horrible decision. The novel follows Evan Whitesky, an Anishinaabe man trying to help his family survive. It's an intense, slow-burn, post-apocalyptic novel. Rice is from Waysaksing, First Nation. Humanity is decimated during the robot war, yet not all hope is lost. In this action-packed novel, narrator Cormac "Bright Boy" Wallace recalls the events leading up to the robot war. At first, AIs only showed slight malfunctions, and not many people even noticed. Then suddenly all AI machines united to create the childlike persona Arcos, and Arcos means to take over the world. This first book in a sci-fi series is thrilling and epic. Wilson is a Cherokee citizen.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.